Hello, I am Reverend Irene Smith, and I'd like to welcome you to Generationally Speaking. Here at the table, we come and we discuss life issues, no matter what they might be. As we sit at the table with each generation, we all learn, we all grow, we all are inspired.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Generationally Speaking. Hello, I am Reverend Irene Ford Smith. Again, I want to welcome you to Generationally Speaking. As always, I am always excited about my guests, and today is no exception. I am on site. I'm out here in Powder Springs, Georgia. I know some of y'all don't know what I'm talking about, but let me tell you, it's a great place to live. It's a beautiful community, and I'm sitting here in the house, in the home of a friend that I've gotten to know, an author. Her name is Tameka Farrier, and I want to introduce you to her. She's written an awesome, awesome book. But before we get to the book and the contents of the book, I first want you to meet her, because she is a young woman that God is doing a powerful thing in. So Tameka, let me just say welcome.
Well, you welcome to you. Thank you.
And I'm so excited that you agreed to let us, Generationally Speaking, come and speak with you about your journey in writing this book, When the Cape Comes Off. So for my audience to get to know you, tell us about the young Tameka, growing up, your siblings, and is Georgia your home state, or are you a transplant? Are you a Georgia peach? Tell me the story.
I'm kind of an adopted Georgia peach.
Okay.
But thank you for having me. I am born and raised in California, Northern California. So yeah, we are in Georgia by way of California, and I'm the eldest of 4 children.
Okay.
So the young Tameka is definitely a different type of breed. Because I was the eldest, I was always responsible for a lot. So the young Tameka was always more mature, had a little bit more wisdom, because I had to set the example for my younger siblings and take responsibility to care for them and all the other kids that we've adopted or had around the house. So the young Tameka was feisty, but she was loving, and she was a big dreamer.
Right. And, you know, when I was reading the preface in your book, and I saw where you described yourself as being that person for everyone. I call you that superwoman for everyone, that you were that ear that people could bend, and you were that shoulder that persons could lean on, and the one that people could go to. You were the person, if I was in a battle, I'm going to get Tameka.
Yeah.
So tell me, what experiences in life made you and shaped you to be that type of person?
I think growing up in being humbled and growing up, I mean, what you see here is a blessing and appreciative, but I didn't come from this. Coming from humble beginnings, having a mother who was strong and fought for us to have better and want more, that kind of helped shape me to be the person I wanted to be, which was just like my mom wanted to be strong and never take no for an answer. So that brought me from where I was and where I am today.
And so now that you are looking back from being that young girl and seeing your mom, you know, being that strong person, now do you see another side of your mom in terms of the real struggles that she faced being a single parent?
Yes. So not only do I see them in looking back, then I thought I knew everything and I didn't know anything. I just knew that she was my superwoman. But now that I'm older, it's like, wow, I realize this is what it is to be an adult, to have a family, to have to struggle and fend and, you know, work hard. So yes, I definitely look back and see that I've came from a strong background.
Right. You know, as children, when we're growing up, we always say, I never want to be like my parents. I never want to be like my mother. But then when we get older, we almost hear ourselves
Yes.
like, wait a minute. So do you, now that you're at this age, can you say, you know what, I think I'm more like my mother than I even begin to realize?
Oh my goodness, yes. Yes. No matter how much I did not want to be in some ways, I am. And I had a husband who reminded me all the time, you know, you act like your mother, you sound like your mother. And I'm like, do I really? But, you know, yes. I do see a lot of me in her.
Yeah. And your siblings, what do they say to you about Tameka?
You know, it's funny because as much as we fought when we were younger and as responsible as I was for them, we are extremely close. So they're really supportive. And I think out of all the siblings, not to brag, because they all love me and they all come to me and they all trust me. So they've seen where I've been and where I want to go. So it's great. They love their sister.
All right, all
Yes.
right. So you also described yourself in the book as being the peacemaker, the motivator, the pusher, the person to get you through the struggles of life, a genuine desire to help people. And what I want to ask is, there are lots of people who are watching, and they want to know, what does that do for you? You know, being that person. What is the weight that you feel on your shoulders for being that person? And when people come to you in your moments when you're down, but they come to you, how do you find the strength to, like, okay, I'm gonna bear their burden?
So that's a good question. You know, I was so used to being the receiver, being the listener, being the helper. So when I needed help, it didn't seem like, again, when you read the book, you'll learn more about how I felt. And as much as I wanted to shut down or wanted to cry, it was in turn actually helping people, which helped me. It still inspired me to help others no matter what I was going through. That was a relief to me to help other people. I wasn't fixated on myself, worried so much about what I was going through, because at the end of the day, I knew I had a bigger purpose. And if I couldn't smile, then doggone it, somebody was going to smile or somebody was going to be happy. So it kind of worked itself out.
So when you think back now of all your instances where you've really helped someone, what was that one time that you thought, I really don't have an answer for this person?
You know, without giving too much away, there was a situation when my friend lost her mother. And I hadn't experienced that before. And, you know, here I am, you know, I have a friend who's just falling her heart and coming to me, and it's hard to, like, what do you say? You know, and the only thing I can think to do is just pray with her, you know, encourage her. But I hadn't experienced that. So that was a difficult time, but I still found a way to support her and be there for her. So I was grateful for that experience.
And so being the person who people come to, how have you learned how to release that burden that they brought to your heart?
I think the number one thing when you are on the receiving end, when you are helping people, is to not carry it, because that can weigh you down, taking on the burdens of other people if you're not careful. But what I did to release, honestly, without sounding cliche, is I had to give it to God.
Yeah.
Anything I can do for them, any way I could help them was by going to God, because ultimately that's who our helper is. So once I gave it to them and I would pray about it and he would give me the things to say to them, it wouldn't become a burden. He wouldn't allow it.
And so, you know, all of us can reach out and help persons, but how do you stop? Where's the stopping point so that you're helping and not enabling?
It's a thin line between enabling and helping, and you definitely have to be careful. I think the line for me is, because I had so much going on, so many responsibilities in my home, being a caregiver for everyone in my home. I had to draw the line, because when you enable people, it's just constant, and I didn't have the extra to continue to go over the same thing and the same thing and the same thing, because I was dealing with a lot. So, you know, I would listen and I would be there and I could do my best, but it comes to a point when I'm like, okay, now you have to do it. I can show you how to do this, but I can't keep doing it for you. So you definitely have to put in your mind where to draw the line, because it can become overwhelming. So you have to teach yourself to draw the line.
Yeah. And so the young Tameka now is blossomed into a young woman.
Yes.
and love meets you. So how did love meet you?
Well, love met me in the club, but or I met love in the club. Now, I'm not saying go to the club to find love, but
listen. We all got some days.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it was, the story is my friend drugged me out. I did not want to go out. I was in the bed, and then I just finally was like, okay, I'll go. And when I went, I saw people I knew there, and everything just, was just turned out to be great. And then I saw this guy, and I was like, oh, he's the one. And coincidentally, when I learned later from him, he was turned away from the same club. He was on his way home, and then he saw someone, and they're like, come inside with me. So it was definitely meant to be. We were supposed to meet that night. So yes.
So it's good to know, that you can meet people online, but you can meet people offline as well.
Yes, you can. Yes.
we say prayer still works. Well, the club still works too.
Just be careful. Just be careful.
Pray.
Yes.
If you go to the club, pray.
Please pray. Right. Please pray.
So you all met, and did you have this whirlwind romance, and or was it pull and tug? What was it? And you know what? Let me just say to my audience, Tameka and I are sitting here with each other, but I have to give full disclosure. Her true love is close by. And I'm going to ask him to pop in right now and show his face so they'll know that he's here with us.
Oh, she's a shy.
Okay.
You hear stories about how people meet, and you hear how, oh, God brought me together, or you even pray, God, I want this, I want that, and you can envision and you can have goals and dreams, but ultimately it's not up to you. And so you have to just allow God to do him, and he'll put you where you need to be and who you need to meet, and it'll happen when it's supposed to happen.
So at the time that you met him, was he already a semi-pro football player, or is this something that happened after you two got together?
So he was. So when I met him, he was already a semi-pro football player, and I'm gonna say it was love at first sight, or I don't know if it was lust at first sight. I'm just being honest, but we had a connection. Mm-hmm. We had a connection, and it felt like a Cinderella story in the beginning, and then it just took off from there.
Yeah. I like the fact, that you two met, but you connected on more than just one level. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I hear you saying, mm-hmm. that you all, it was your soulmate, that you all were physically attracted to each other. Mm-hmm. But then as you begin to conversate, you all recognized that you were more than just that physical attraction. That might have been it initially.
Definitely.
But as you grew to know each other, you all connected on a higher and a more intimate level.
We did. It at first, of course, it was attraction, but it was even in the attraction, it was something about him. I'm like, this guy is different. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but it was something about him. And I'm like, okay, God, because I had given up. I said, you know what? I just want to have fun. I just want to live my life. I had been through a lot of different relationships, and I'm like, you know what? I'm done. So it was something just pulling and tugging on me. So it definitely was a connection, and it just became stronger. But if I didn't listen to that connection, I don't know you have to be careful. You have to be careful, but it was definitely not just a love connection. It was stronger than that.
Right. And so to my audience, you're probably asking, why is she asking all these questions? Well, I'm asking all these questions because we're building to her story, her book. And this is a part of helping you to understand her journey. And so you all were married, and were you all living in California, here in Maryland? I mean, in Maryland, in Georgia. Where were you all?
So we were in California. After I graduated from college in Tennessee, I went back to California, and we met in San Francisco, which is a huge city in Northern California. So we met in California, started our family in California, we're married in California, and then as it turns out, we would move to Georgia maybe 5-6 years into our marriage. So that, yeah, then.
But that was for his career?
Well, in the beginning, I'd say maybe when I started getting pregnant, and then you'll read in the book, of course, he started having some health issues. So then he had to leave his semi-pro career to focus on his health. Then he had a family, so he had to provide, and oh yeah.
So let's stop there, because marriages suffer, and sometimes they don't always survive when there are health issues, when there are financial issues, when there are other external factors. And so you all had this great marriage, and when you met him, he was healthy in that regard. But then he experiences a health situation which impacts his ability to play football. How then does that change you all's interaction with each other? How did you all manage to navigate that path to find that way to draw closer to each other? Because sometimes for the man especially, it can be so detrimental that they are literally pushing those who love them away because of what they are experiencing. We have an angel here, and our angel is whispering.
Yes,
and I'm loving my angel. I'm hearing my angel.
Oh goodness. It's hard. It is hard, and I think oftentimes in marriages, because you're still two imperfect people coming together, you're learning each other. Every day you learn something new about your spouse. So when someone is hit with an illness, and the vows say through sickness and through health, but you don't know what that entails until it actually happens. There were times even before he got sick that we would just drive each other crazy or shut down, or like you say, you'll push someone away. Sometimes not even knowing, because you're having to deal with something and not able to communicate it fully. So when someone has an illness, it takes them down a path, and they're trying to figure out what's going on within themselves, and dealing with the issues from the illness, and then mentally having to deal with it. And at the same time, they still have to be a father or a mother. They still have to be an employee. So it's hard, because you're bringing home everything you're experiencing to your spouse, essentially, whether it is anger, whether it is depression, whether it is sadness. And you have to go through that with your spouse, and you have to be strong, open, and you have to communicate. And it is tough. It's tough, but like the Bible says, you become one. So we have to figure out a way how to make this work out and become one, because if he's going through something or was going through something, that I was going through it as well. And I often had to remind him of that, that it's not just you. I'm going through it too. You may be going through it physically, but I'm going through it. I'm right here with you the whole way. So I think just being supportive when you don't feel like it, being supportive when you're tired, being supportive when you have a lot going on is very important. It's very important.
Yeah, that affirmation, reminding your husband that he still is the man that you fell in love with, and that this medical situation or whatever it might be, that we're in it together. And so that happens. And then you talk about your children, one being diagnosed with ADHD and the other one with autism. So you had this life, and I think all of us, we think our lives are going to be a certain way, according to Ozzie and Harriet, this makeup world that somebody told us about, which is not reality, period.
Right.
So how do you begin to receive all of this information for you and recognize, I got to stand strong and I got to stand up in it?
I think for me, watching him, my husband, go through illness, having children that have their own diagnosis and illness, I was either going to allow my circumstances to take over me, or I was going to stand up. I either had to, stand up for something, or I was going to fall every time. And I had to make a decision when it became extremely overwhelming, when I became tired, and when I felt myself becoming depressed. I said, I cannot feel like this, because I have to be the strong one. I have to help. I have to set the example, and I had to bear the burden. And if that's what I have to do right now, I know it wouldn't be forever. And I knew that the bigger sacrifice at that time would be me, and I was okay with that. So I had to mentally make peace with that, so that I wouldn't continue to feel overwhelmed, feel stressed, and allow the circumstances again to hold me down. I just had to keep, like you said, affirmations every day, reminding myself so I can be there for my family.
So many people, when they are going through, they hide. They hide what's going on. They hide their true feelings. They don't become their authentic selves. They project something that's really not who they are. And what I appreciate so much about you is that you've taken your life and the power of your story, and you determined that I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to be authentic, because in your authenticity, you're actually helping someone else. Because we all, all of us have those times when we just fall apart. I mean, I don't care how much faith you got.
Yeah.
I know y'all, some of y'all super C's out there. But if we honest about it, we all have those moments when we just fall apart. It's not in the falling apart. It's the getting back up.
That's it.
And so you were being the person that you were. How did your friends, how did those persons then come around you and say, we got you?
That's the whole purpose of this book, when the cape comes off, because I had to learn I can't keep the cape on. The cape can become too heavy, can be overwhelming. I was the one hiding. My family didn't even know a lot of the things that I was going through, a lot of the feelings. My friends, I would wear the smile, I would bear the burden, and then not allow anyone, I would dare not allow anyone to ever see me distraught, or that struggle, or that I needed help. And for a long time, it became a part of me, so much so that I'm like, wait a minute, but I'm not okay. Especially when people ask you, how you doing? I'm not okay. But you don't hear people say that.
Right.
People won't admit that. I don't know if it's pride or if it's just an internal thing, but it's okay not to be okay. And I had to learn that. I had to learn that everyone needs help. I'm not, Superwoman as much as I like to think I am, but even Superwoman needs help. You know, so I had to allow the wall to come down. I had to take the cape off so that I could allow others to help me. And so once they saw that, okay, well, maybe she doesn't have it, then they started to, you know, come around. Not that they weren't around, I did not allow them. And once I dropped the wall, took the cape off, it was easier to receive the help that people were wanting to give me.
Right. Because, you know, when we think about Batman and we think about Batwoman, Superman, Superwoman, even the person with the cape and the bull. I'm trying to think of the Commodore.
Yeah.
What is it? And as long as they have the cape, as long as they have that cape, that's their shield. That's their protection. But when it comes off, they all become weak. And weak in terms of they show their humanity.
Right.
They show that who they are. And so in revealing finally to your family and to others, I'm going through. What did that do for you?
It was bittersweet because I was always the strong one. It killed me to be vulnerable. It hurt me to have to depend on people, to need people. That in itself kind of broke me. And in the breaking, in the crushing, again, going back to the word, that's when you find your strength. In my opinion, weakness is just it's pain that's leaving your body. So once it leaves, then what are you gonna do? So in order for me to become strong, I had to be broken, and that way I can rebuild. And allowing people to help me is a part of that rebuilding myself. So it hurts, but it's necessary. It's a good hurt.
So I think that going back now and thinking about the young Tameka and what was modeled before you, because as children, we take in a lot, and we don't always recognize what we're taking in. And so I think when you think about the young Tameka and seeing your mom as this person of strength, seeing your mom as this person who does it all, who's capable, is strong, but never seeing her in her vulnerability, that shaped you.
It did. It did. It shaped me, and in some ways, it also hurt me because I had never seen my mom cry. I had never seen my mom be vulnerable. She was strong, and that's how she reared me, to be strong. And again, not take no for an answer from anybody. And if you want something, you go get it, and then you have to work hard for it. And you figure out a way. And if someone tells you no, you figure out a way. So as I got older, if someone told me no, oh no, what do you mean no? Whether, it was, Tameka, it's okay. No, because in my mind, I'm going to go for what I want.